What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with a little bit of hot topics, you guys. This is going to be the week's hottest topics number 82. I believe this is the week of October the 30th through November the 4th, you guys. Can you guys believe we are already in November? So Thanksgiving is coming up, Christmas is coming up, and then we got a brand new year around the corner. So I'm now, see, for me, I'm not the end of the year is never a good one for me. I typically hate the end of the year because I experience so much loss at the end of the year. Let's see where we can start up at. So it started in 2012. 2012, one of my uncles passed away on Thanksgiving. No, he passed away the week before Thanksgiving. One of my twin uncles, he passed away the week before Thanksgiving. Then 2013, January 1st, my grandmother passed away. So this January 1st coming up will make 10 years that my grandmother passed away. Then I had a cousin who passed away a few weeks before Christmas in 2015. Then my grandfather passed away on Thanksgiving Day in 2014. So yeah, it's just, I don't do the end of the year well. So pray for me, you guys. But that's not even why we're here. We're here to just talk about these topics, you guys. So before we just go ahead and get into it, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel, and you guys aren't subscribed, do me a big solid favor and subscribe to the channel. Stop taking me out in the day and subscribe to the channel. Turn on your post notifications, share the video, give me a big, huge thumbs up, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let us discuss what is hot and what is trending this week, shall we? All right, you guys. So the first story, we're going to start up with really sad news, guys. So the first story that I really do want to talk about before I get into the next sad story is his name DeVito? I never get his name right. So his 3-year-old son drowned in a pool. God, I can't imagine what that family has been going through to lose, because I have little young cousins in my family, and I couldn't imagine any one of them. I couldn't imagine nothing like that. That's just gut wrenching that your 3-year-old, he hadn't even begun to live his life, right? And now he's no longer here. And it's actually reminded me of something that happened years ago with a kid that a little neighborhood kid that I was friends with, right? My cousins and I, we played with him every day. He was just a little bit older than me, because I think when he died, he was about 6 years old. And I can remember this vividly, and I was like 4 years old. I think I was 3 or 4, but I still have a very clear memory of this happening, which I'm surprised that I do, but I still remember it. So the neighborhood where my grandmother lives, it's a smaller neighbor. It's a little small neighborhood. It's a drug neighborhood. Go figure, right? But so my grandmother's house, where my grandmother's house is, it's a dead end. So you can't. So my grandmother's house is the end of the street. So you come down the street. So you come up the street. It's a little hill. You come down, and there's my grandmother's house, right? So going back down the hill, it's a big main street, and as kids, my cousins and I, we would there are two little corner stores down there, so we would always love to walk down to the corner store. So if we would go, because I had cousins who were a little bit older than me, and my grandmother trusted us to walk together to the store. This is in the 90s, by the way. So the 90s was a lot different than where we are currently in this world, because you wouldn't let your kids go. I mean, you wouldn't let that happen with your kids. And she could see us until we got to the store. So we used to walk down to the store, and she would watch us. Like I said, she could see us from the door. She could see us until we got all the way down towards the end where we had to cross the street. So she would tell all of us to hold hands. And so that's what we would do. So this one little kid in the neighborhood, he lived at the end of the street, him and his mom, and he was her only child, right? So one day, my mom and I were going over to my grandmother's house, right? And we could see all the lights, the police lights, the ambulance lights, and we were like, my mom asked what was going on. Come to find out, the little boy had got hit. Somebody, he was riding his bike, and he rode his bike into traffic, and somebody just came by and hit him, and unfortunately, he lost his life. And like I said, I think he was at least 6 or 7 years. He was between 6 or 7, right? Because, like I said, he was older than me, and I remember his mother. Ugh. When I growing up, I always felt bad because my mom and her were pretty cool with each other, right? And she would have to look at me, but she eventually did move as I got older, I'm like, what was it like for her to see me and my cousins? Because she still lived in the neighborhood for quite some time. Then she moved a few blocks away, and she loved my grandmother, and I always wondered, I'm like, what was it like for her to watch me and my cousins grow up knowing that her son was not here? Like I always felt bad. I always felt bad, even though it wasn't nothing that anybody did. But I just like that had to take a toll on her. But she did eventually leave our city. So I really do. I just can't imagine what that's like for that family. Like I said, I got little cousins, and I know if anything happened to any of them, I would lose my mind. Like I just couldn't imagine that. So yeah, my prayers go up to that family for their loss. I know that they said that they're investigating like the nanny and the chef. I don't know about why you would be investigating the chef, but the nanny, I understand. Like you're supposed to be watching this child, and that's when you hear about stories like that where people are supposed to be watching kids and the kids wander off and get into things. It's like, what were you doing? I'm not placing blame. I'm just like, but you're there to take care of this child. How do you? And I know kids. I know even as me as a kid, I would sneak away, and we would sneak away. We would wait for an opportunity to do, sneak away to do what we wanted to do. But damn, rest in peace, you guys. Rest in peace to that. I don't know his name, but rest in peace. All right, you guys. So the next story that we're going to talk about is the big story of this week, which was the untimely death of Takeoff from Migos. Now, I will say here right now, I like the Migos music, but I'm not like a diehard fan. I'm not like a super fan or anything like that. But I do like Migos. I like them collectively. I think there are some things that I've been thinking about the Migos all week, because I was thinking about when they were on is his name James Corden show, when they were he does his car karaoke. I remember that, and then the one thing that I most notably remember with Takeoff was it the BET Awards when he was doing an interview with, and I didn't even pay attention that was Academics. I cannot stand Academics. It was Academics, and it was Joe Budden when they were talking about him being left off Bad and Bougie. Oh my God, I crack up every time I see that. When Joe threw that microphone. Now Joe was rude, but I think he was upset with Academics, right? So Quavo and Takeoff were in Texas this week. They were actually in Houston. Now, the stories that's been out there, they've definitely changed, because at one point they said it was a dice game, and somebody was losing. They didn't like that, so then, and they said it was Quavo that got into it with somebody, and Takeoff jumped in to stop it and whatnot. But then you hear that somebody in their camp accidentally shot him. So you don't know what's true when it comes to that. The one thing that I just want to say that I think is just disgusting. So it was actually Halloween, right? Yeah. Well, it was November 1st, because I remember it vividly, because Halloween was on television all day and all night, right? So I was watching Halloween. It was Halloween 4 and Halloween 5 that were on at the time. And then I just happened to pick up my phone, and I was like, and I saw that Takeoff had passed away. I was like, wait a minute, what? Takeoff? Nah, it can't be. So I rolled back over and I watched this a little bit more, and then when I got up to get ready for work, that's when it was confirmed. I was like, damn, man. And then to find out he was only 28 years old. He really hadn't even started living life yet. And I didn't realize he was younger than me. I thought he was, around my age. But that is just so sad, you guys, to think these senseless killings is what's just frustrating as hell. These senseless killings. And then, this also plays into the hands of this will be, this is going to be talking this, and I did see it. I did see some chatter like this on social media about quote unquote black on black crime, which is not a thing. Crime is crime. White people take out white people. Black people take out black people. Hispanics take out Hispanics. Asians take out Asians, right? So let's stop with the whole black on black. That's not real. That's something they use against us, right? So the thing that I was saying earlier was so disgusting is, so I got on Twitter and I saw Jason Lee. Jason Lee, you guys know I don't like Jason Lee. You guys know I don't see it for Jason Lee whatsoever, right? So his post was something like Quavo is, not Quavo, but Takeoff is dead. I was like, okay, that's kind of glib, but whatever. But then he was like, he's not going to sit. What he said was he wasn't going to be one of those people that posted the video, but you gave a description of what happened. What's better and what's worse? It's the same damn thing. Like he got descriptive about what happened. And I know that there are videos out there. And I just, for the life of me, don't understand why people want to memorialize things like that, right? We know that, he died in Quavo's arms, right? Why would anybody want to see that? I don't understand people. Like, it's just weird the way that social media is today. Everybody wants to be the first to post something. I was just having a conversation with my friend last week about this, about how people always want to be the first person to post something, be the first one to break a story. Not everything is breaking news, especially when it comes to someone's health, someone dying. Those things are not breaking news. What do you want? Like a brownie point? Like, I know in this world, in this age of social media, everything is for clicks and views, and I know most things these days are monetized, so you get advertising dollars. But damn, how much for the almighty dollar in this day and age, right? So, because it reminds me of something that I saw a few years ago when I was heavily on Facebook. I saw that I don't know if this was just something that just popped up on my timeline. I think it was, because it wasn't none of my friends. But a girl's grandmother had passed away, right? And the girl snapped a picture of her grandmother and put it on Facebook. I'm like, why would you want to? Why do you want people to see your grandmother's lifeless body? I just didn't understand that. Like, it just makes no sense to me. You want to be, and again, it goes to the fact of, I think people want to be seen, want people to talk about them, right? Want people to visit their, in this instance right here with Takeoff. I think people do it because they want people to visit their blog. It's just like, you gotta, at some point in time, humanity has to set in and be like, you know what, this just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't sit well with me, because I just can't. I mean, me personally, if I'm witness to something like that, I'm not gonna. I don't want to record it. I don't want to see it, because I don't want that in my phone, because that, like, how can y'all, that's callous. That's callous for one. How can you have a video of a person's lifeless body in your phone? That doesn't make you feel disgusting. That doesn't make you sick. That doesn't make you want to throw up, like someone's lifeless body, and you want to memorialize that. I just, for the life of me, I can't understand why anybody would want to memorialize something as devastating as that. like terrible. Like and like I said, I wasn't a super fan of Migos, right? But I like their music. I love their music. And when I spent the whole day thinking about Migos because we got Neff and Few, which Neff and is Unc and Few or Neff and Few, Neff and Unc. A group now. See, I did not. It was. I mean, I think I recently found out that Quavo was the uncle to Take Off. Kind of similar to my story. You guys know I told you guys that I have an aunt and an uncle. My uncle is just a year older than me, and my aunt is a year younger than me, right? It just kind of reminds me of that's my story, right? But I knew that they were all related. I knew that Offset is the cousin to both of them, right? And Quavo is Takeoff's uncle. Damn, just to have your nephew die in your arms. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. We gonna lift them up in prayers, you guys, because that's just I can't imagine. And we know that they've had their issues, right? And people speculate about what the issues are. No one knows what the issues are but those three. No one knew what their issues was, but them, their family, and their friends, right? Those are the only people who knew. The outside, it's just a lot of chatter because what was the situation that Offset supposedly slept with Sweetie. Then what was it? Sweetie supposed to sleep with somebody else in the crew, and it was some money issues. So we don't necessarily know what was what. It's just kind of when like I said, I was thinking about it because I was thinking about the fact that you know Offset has been on the outs with them, and I was like, damn. My brain was like, I hope that they were able to at least at some point make some kind of amends with each other before this. But I was like, I don't think so. But I hope that with this, it could bring Offset and Quavo at least close, somewhat closer because this is family. At the end of the day, you can have your spats with your family, and you can have your spats with your family. Get mad, upset, but at the end of the day, family is family, and you can't change them, you can't pick them. So my prayers definitely go up to their whole family. So let's pause here, you guys, and let's go ahead and move forward. All right, you guys. So let's just get this out of the way real quick. Politics, you guys. Now this is gonna be a little lengthy because I got another story to tack on. I got a story to tack onto this, right? So early voting, I believe early voting will end November the 4th, and you can go and then the election day is November the 8th, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think election day is November 8th, which is going to be on a Tuesday. So you guys, please go out and vote. Again, like I said last week, I'm not going to tell you guys, I don't want to tell you guys who to vote for. Vote in the best interest of yourself, right? If you feel like the Republican Party is better for you, vote Republican. Democrat, vote Democrat, right? Just go out and vote. That's all I say. I am so god dang on sick of these attack ads. They are really, really working my last nerve. Every last one of them. And more specifically, like I said last week, it's the Republican ads because they are a bunch of lies. And I'm noticing with the Republicans that the Republicans don't have an agenda. They just want to keep talking about crime, inflation. That's really it. That's all they're talking about is crime and inflation. That's all I've ever heard. That's all I continuously hear is crime and inflation. Now here in Texas, they want to talk about, paying the teachers more. That's bullshit. Crime, inflation, and keeping our that's the second one that I keep hearing is keeping our children safe. Keeping our children safe. And oh, if you shoot a gun, I'm gonna try to make the maximum 10 years in prison, and anyone who doesn't uphold that, I'm gonna hold them accountable as well. Okay, Dan Patrick, we'll see what your fat ass do. You guys, I'm just like I said, I'm over it because it's bullshit, right? because there's Dan Patrick's raggedy ass is talking about guns when Greg Abbott is the one who made those stupid ass lax ass laws about you don't have to have you don't have to have any kind of training to get a gun here in Texas. Like there's no laws, there's no real true gun laws. That is why that boy was able to get that gun and go down to Uvalde, that school in Uvalde, and shoot. And then Greg Abbott, he wants to sit here and talk about how he's a family man. He's all about kids. You know what? I'm not even going to get into that. I am not getting into that. I am not. So that's all I have to say is go out, you guys, and vote. Vote in the best interest of yourselves. That's all I got to say. So since we're talking about politics, let's go ahead and talk about what happened to Speaker Pelosi's husband. So last Friday, after I posted this, I think it was last Friday, or it might have been last Thursday. No, it was Friday, I believe. Because my friend was sitting beside me. He was like, somebody hit Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer. I was like, what? She was like, yeah. I was like, a hammer? So what happened is, you guys know we're still dealing with the situation that happened on January 6th with the insurrection with those, and that's the other thing when it comes to this election. I think that's the most terrifying thing for me with this election is that there are a lot of people that are running for governmental offices that are election deniers. They want to still say that who the election was stolen from him when he had no proof. When he took it to court, they turned him away because he had no proof. And even with the January 6th hearings, he knew he lost. He didn't care. He still portrayed this big lie. So you got people like that dumbass woman, Carrie Lake, that's running for governor. I forget where she's running for governor. You got Carrie Lake. You got Mehmet Oz. You got Herschel Walker. It's a slew of other ones that you got that have his endorsement. And it's just like, what the fuck, man? So, Nancy Pelosi, she wasn't at home, right? So this guy broke into her home and went into the bedroom where her husband was, asking him, where is Nancy? Kind of similar to what we heard on January 6th when they were running through the halls screaming for Nancy Pelosi, right? You guys remember that. They went to her office too, but she wasn't in her office, right? So she wasn't home. So Paul Pelosi, got the chance. The guy let him go to the bathroom. So when he went to the bathroom, he was able to call 911. So 911 came out. Now they said when 911 got there that Paul Pelosi and this man were struggling over, fighting over the hammer, right? But at one point, the guy got the upper hand over him and clocked him in the head with the damn hammer, right? Knocked him unconscious. And mind you, Paul Pelosi is 82 years old. And he had to have extensive surgery for that. Like, that is just disgusting. So they also said, they were charged the man with attempted murder. They charged him with kidnapping because he had zip ties, trash bags. So he said that he went to the house just to have a conversation with Nancy Pelosi, right? And if she were to lie to him, he was gonna bust her kneecaps. I'm like, and he also got charged with elder abuse too, right? Like, this is disgusting. Like, y'all are so despicable. Not you guys, but those who supporters are just the most disgusting, despicable human beings on the face of the earth. That is why that man needs to never be able to run for office ever again. Like, he needs to be in prison. There is something wrong with him and those wackadoos that support him. Like, I just don't understand this shit, right? So, yeah, he was going to bust her kneecaps if she lied to him. What was she going to lie about? What do you want to ask? Like, what? So, this is what upset me with that Carrie Lake lady, right? So she was at a speaking engagement, right? And once again, we're talking about keeping our children safe, right? Our kids should be safe, just like our celebrities and our athletes and our politicians. Well, she's like Nancy Pelosi. Her house, well, maybe her house wasn't protected, and people in the audience found that funny. How do y'all find attempted murder funny? Then the little crackhead, you know who, Junior, he, so somebody, I just don't understand. Where did politics go so far off the rails that you guys can find someone's attempted murder funny? So, I saw You Know Who Junior, and he had posted this on his Twitter, but I think I may have saw it on Instagram or something. I don't. I think it was Instagram that I saw it, right? So someone found it funny to say that this was going to be their Halloween costume, that they were Paul Pelosi. So they had a little pair of underwear and a hammer. I was like, y'all are really that demented that y'all think that some shit like that is funny? And I was like, what if it happened to Fat Ass? God forbid anything negative happens to Fat Ass. Y'all gonna be boo-hoo crying. Oh my God, it was Antifa. It's the left. It's the left. The left is the left that the left. Y'all will be crying. Y'all will be crying if something happened to Chester Cheeto, but it happens to Nancy Pelosi and her husband, and y'all find it funny. You guys, if you that is why I say go out and vote, because I just, it's imperative, right? Make a, if you guys, if you're a Republican, I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with that. If you're a Democrat, I don't have an issue with that, because I'll tell you guys how I fall, right? I am an independent. I'm independent. I don't fall Republican or Democratic, right? But I will, before who ran for election, right? Before who ran for election, I found myself to be someone who could be in the middle. I could see Republicans point of, I could see some Republican stances, and I could see and I could see Democratic stances. And I'll give you guys a perfect example of a Republican that, although I wasn't I didn't vote for him, but I thought he was a great person. I thought he was a good person, and some of the things that when he was running for presidential election, some of his policies that I heard, I was like, that doesn't sound bad. But then if it's John McCain that I'm talking about. John McCain, and my mom and I even talked about this. John McCain has some things that he said that I was like, okay, I'm like, okay, cool. But like I said, I didn't vote for John McCain. I voted for President Obama. That was my first ever election to vote in. And I voted for, like I said, I voted for President Obama. But John McCain, when he ran, I was like, you know what? He has some points that I do like. But then when we got that crackpot, that was just when I was like, you know what? They all are literally just can't, just gravitating towards that asshole and just facilitating his bullshit. Like, I'll give you guys one politician that is a dumbass. He was on The View last week and he sounded like a complete moron. Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is a goddamn moron. I don't know no nicer way to say it, but Ted Cruz is a fucking moron. Let's pause here and move forward. But before I do that, you guys, once again, vote. If you're not going to vote, early vote, please vote election day. That's all I got to say. Let's move forward. All right, you guys. So next up, let's talk about this couple whose names I am not going to say on this channel anymore. And this is going to be my last time talking about both of them. It's just toxicity that I wish that like I posted on the neighborhood talk actually when this video came out. So the girlfriend came out this week and said her boyfriend had abused her, right? But then a few days later, the same girlfriend came out and said that her boyfriend didn't abuse her, that he was trying to stop her because she was drunk and trying to stop her from jumping out of a car or something like that. I don't listen to her. Oh God. And they got a show coming on Zeus. So if you guys didn't know who I was talking about, I just told you in no uncertain terms who I'm talking about. They're very toxic, right? And I know people in the comments were like, that she's abused him and he's abused her, right? And I get that. I understand that they both abuse each other. Why don't anybody say anything about this relationship is destructive, self-destructive, right? Like, it's just something wrong with both of them. And it feels like it's a little bit of, to me, it seems like it's trauma bonding. I don't know. But I do know that they're not good for each other. They're very toxic people. The relationship is toxic. They don't need to be with each other. They need to both seek out therapy. He's fighting her daddy. She's into it with his mama. How are you in a relationship with anybody that disrespects your parents is what I don't understand. How do you say that I love somebody, but I'm gonna beat your daddy up and I'm gonna try to fight your mama? I know she got into it with his mother. I don't know if her and his mother fought, but I do know for damn sure that he fought her daddy, and it's gonna be on that show that they have coming to Zeus. And that's another issue that I have, right? On top of, like, every time you turn around, they're always on the blogs. They're always on the blogs. And that relationship is unhealthy for a multitude of reasons, right? On top of the fact that they are very volatile and they are destructive, right? It's also a bit of obsession, right? Because she got his face tattooed right here. She got his face tattooed so many places on her body, and I just don't understand why. When she gets older, she is going to look back on the things that she is doing, and she is going to literally regret it. Because I just can't. I mean, she's like 22 or 23, something like that. She's in her early 20s. Only thing I can do for her is pray for her, but at the same time, you got to want the prayer. And I just don't think that that girl is at any place in her life. I think that there are some underlying issues with her. I know that I think her mom is on drugs. I could be wrong, but I believe her mother's on drugs. I just pray for her because something's not right with her as a person. To stick around in that relationship, I don't know if there's some kind of an agreement with them or what, but it is something not right with that couple. Period. Point blank. Um, but like I said, this is my last time discussing both of them. You notice I've gone this whole entire time, and I have yet to say their name. I'm just not gonna say their name because I just don't want to give them the light. I just want them to. If this isn't, and I'm gonna stick on this for just a few more minutes. When it comes to Zeus, right? Lemmy was just green light. Lemmy would just say, "Fuck it," and just give anybody a show, regardless of if they deserve a show or not, right? Because you can see that this relationship is destructive. So what if something bad happens to one of these two? What if someone is unlived in this situation, right? Then you're gonna have to live with you're gonna have to live with that over your head that you could have maybe not could have prevented it, right? But you damn sure don't have to condone it because that's really what Zeus is doing. And that's what I feel like a lot of these blogs are doing. You guys see how toxic it is. You guys see how volatile it is. And you continuously post them on social media. I get so sick of seeing them. Is there a way, like, I know with Twitter you can mute people, you can mute words and phrases. Can you mute people's names on Instagram? Because if you can, I want to mute both of them. I kid you not. Anytime I see either one of them on my timeline, I'm like, what the fuck? Why do y'all keep posting? And at this point, I think a lot of people, when they do post them on the blogs, people are like, why do y'all keep posting them? Like, are y'all getting paid to post them? Because that's what it feels like at this one. It feels like they get paid to post them and they get paid to post those clips of those Zeus shows. Like, did you guys just see that clip, that trailer of the reunion for Bobby's show? A hot ass mess. But let's pause here, you guys. Let's go ahead and move forward. All right, you guys. So the next story we're going to talk about is Al B. Sure. So Al B. Sure Jr. came out this week and let us know that his father has been in a coma for the last 2 months, I think he said, right? Now, did they really name that his son Albie Shore Jr.? Isn't that his state? I mean, that's just his stage name. Because Albie Shore is his name is Albert something the third. So wouldn't he be the fourth? Did y'all really name that boy Albie Shore Jr.? Oh God. You got named after your daddy's stage name. Okay. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping Albie Shore Jr. is his stage name. I hope. Because I was Googling that trying to find out if that was his real name. I hope and pray it's not. Because what? I would have asked my parents, why in the hell did you name me this? That's not, never mind. Let it go. So yeah, Albie, like I said, no, I mean, nothing. And we've been watching. I mean, we've been watching what Power Book 3, Raising Canaan, with Quincy on there. And Quincy ain't. Well, I don't follow Quincy, so I wouldn't know. I don't know if Quincy posted anything or not. But it's really interesting. What I think Albie Shore is 52 years old. It's really crazy and really scary, you guys, to think about it. That it's a lot of people that are not living to see 60, 70, and they're dying, at in this year, well, currently, they're dying younger and younger, right? And it's just it's really interesting. But it also, you think about, I know you think about like what people eat, exercise, diet, and all that kind of things. I know that plays a factor into a lot of things, but also people do, a lot of times people have underlying health issues that they don't release to the public that we don't know. So it's just interesting because we Coolio passed away recently. Who else has passed? It's a lot of people that have passed away in the last year, and they've all been under 50. Because what was his name? The singer that passed away recently. Like everybody that has passed away this last year, they have been under 50. Lord, please and I joke with my friends and whatnot, because I'd be like, but I do want to live a long life, because I'd be like, I don't want to, get to 80 and 90, but I would love to. Honestly, I really would love to be 80 and 90 years old with my, my family around me, my friends, hopefully my friends are still here with me. But yeah, people are just dying younger and younger, but we're definitely going to send up a prayer for Albie Shore and hope that he gets well soon. So let's pause here, you guys, and let's go ahead and move forward. All right, you guys. So the next story that I want to talk about is Cheryl Lee Ralph. You guys love Cheryl Lee Ralph. I watch Abbott Elementary. If you guys do watch Abbott Elementary, you guys know I do review Abbott Elementary every single week. And a new review is up currently, so you guys can go check out that review of episode 7. It was a really good episode. So Cheryl Lee Ralph. Now, I love Cheryl Lee Ralph, but girl, you were dead ass wrong. I know people. Now, here's the thing, right? I'm trying to think about how I want to say this. I'm trying to think of a scenario to use. That's what it really is. I'm trying to think of a scenario, right? So Cheryl Lee Ralph flies with Delta, so I'm assuming she's like a frequent flyer of Delta, right? And you know how, like, let's just say you go places. Let's just say the barbershop, right? Let's just say, for instance, like a guy goes to the barbershop. Well, no, that's not even a good example, because when it comes to your barber, you make up an appointment. Perfect that's kind of a good example, because with your barber, you make an appointment with them, right? And is that a good example? No. Actually, let's just use Cheryl Lee Ralph's example for an example. So Cheryl Lee Ralph flies with Delta, right? She's a frequent flyer. And you know how sometimes you have people who, they know you, they're familiar with you, right? So if you don't show up or on time, or you're a little bit late, they're like, oh, and they see your name on the manifest and be like, oh, Ms. Ralph is coming. Now they'd be like, oh, something, she's always here on time. I got a perfect example. I got a perfect one. So when I used to work for Hertz, the worst job I've ever had in my entire life, I hated that job. If you guys are interested in car rental, don't work there. My biggest advice, don't. That is the worst job you could ever do. Like hospitality, hated it. It was horrible. The people are rude. perfect example for how Cheryl Lee Ralph was. It's a great example. So, so, and I would have regular customers that would come in. I knew who they were. I knew what kind of cars they like, right? So I know if if they make a reservation for, let's say, because our branch opened, the first branch that I worked at, we opened at 7:30, and then the second one that I worked for, we opened at 8 o'clock, right? So let's say somebody made a reservation for 8 o'clock in the morning, and I would see the manifest the night. I would see the night before the manifest, right? And I'm like, oh, Mr. or Mrs. So and so is coming in tomorrow. Let me have a car. I actually did have a customer like that. I actually did have a customer that was like that. I knew when she would come in, I knew she needed somebody to pick her up, right? So what I would do is I would take a particular key and I would hold it. I would hold it for her if I could, right? I would hold the key for her and I would keep the key with me and I would go pick her up and we would come into the office and we would, I would assign her to the car and she would be good to go, right? So I did have some customers that, and then I had those customers who would be late. Like I knew that if they didn't come right at 8 o'clock, I'm like, they'll probably be traipsing in here at 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning expecting me to have a car for them. And sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't. I did have some customers who were similar to Cheryl Lee Ralph in the instance that, and I'll give you guys a perfect example. I'll give you guys a really good example of a time where I dealt with somebody like Cheryl Lee Ralph. And he wasn't even a normal customer of mine. He was just somebody that reserved a car, and I had the car class that he wanted. He didn't like it because it was one of those. It's a hybrid car, so he didn't like it. It was a hybrid Ford Fusion. So he got so upset about it. And I'll tell you guys, when it comes to car rentals, when it comes to any major holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's Eve, like New Year's Eve, spring break and all that kind of stuff, be patient with people in car rentals because they're just doing their job, right? Sometimes when it comes to car rentals, it's up to the branch man. It's not the branch manager. It's really like the area managers. It's up to them to reach out to each. They can turn off the reservations for their area, and they also have to reach out to those third parties that people go through to tell them like, hey, we need you guys to turn this off because we don't have any cars. And that was a situation that we used to get into where people would overbook us and we wouldn't have any cars, especially around the holidays. People want to get minivans. And I'll let you guys know, especially here in Dallas, minivans are the hardest things to come about. Because there aren't that many minivans in a particular. There aren't that many. When it comes to car rentals, most car rentals have more cars than they do vans and trucks. They're going to have a slew of cars, and they're not going to have as many. They're not going to have as many minivans. So back to the story. The guy got pissed off at my friend. He got pissed off at her. So I came around. And I'm like, "What's going on?" She's like, "He doesn't want this car." I was like, "What did he book for?" So car classes. It's the A, which is a compact. A B, which is a no. A is an economy. B is a compact, but those are one and the same. They're one and the same. And then you got a C, which is a mid-size. You had a D, and an F, which those are about the same. So those are like a full-size cars. Then you have your S's, which is a truck. You have your R, which is a minivan, and then you have your Q4, which is a small SUV. Your B4, which is a little bigger of a SUV, a B4, Q4, B4, and then that's when you would get up to the S's and the R's, which is a minivan, right? So this guy booked for a D. So we had a full-size Ford Fusion. We gave it to him. He came back in 10 minutes later. He drove off the lot, and he was like, Actually, no, he didn't even get off the lot first, right? He turned the car off and he came back in there. He was pissed. This car doesn't work. I'm like, did you turn it on? He was like, yeah. He's like, and it's not working. I was like, you do know that it doesn't make any. So when you turn, it's a push to start. I said, when you push the button, you put your foot on the brake, you push it. It's not gonna make any noise. It's just gonna, it's silent. You can start driving, and then you'll hear it, but you're not gonna hear the engine vroom rev up because it doesn't. It's a hybrid car, right? So he drove off. Then he came back in. He was like, he didn't like it, something about the gas. I was like, you're gonna get better gas mileage in this than a regular car, but okay. So when he came back in, he tossed the keys to me. I looked at him. I was like, you can put those right back on the counter, cause I'm not gonna help you now that you threw them at me, right? So then he called the 800 number. He called the 800. He cussed the 800 number woman out. And then he called my coworker a bitch. I was like, oh, goodbye, sir. We're not gonna help you. You have a good day, right? So what Cheryl Lee Ralph, she was upset because she was late, and I had people like that too who were late. I'm like, especially and on the you know, we would call people and tell them like you got a 30-minute window to get here. Like, especially with the holidays, we would call and say, hey, are you coming in? If you're coming in, we need you to come in now because we have a limited supply of cars, so we need you to come in right now. Don't make a reservation for 9 o'clock. And I kid you not, somebody did this to me us one year. Booked a car for 9 o'clock in the morning. Did not show up until 3 o'clock in the afternoon expecting to get a car. And I'm like, when did you book a car for? They were like, oh, I booked it for this morning. We had the car this morning. We called you, told you, we called you to confirm that you were coming. You never reached out to us. Fool had a whole entire fit similar to Cheryl Lee Ralph. I don't miss those days whatsoever. I do not miss those days. I wouldn't go back to it if you paid me. Like the pay could, and that was the other thing when it came to stuff like that. The pay was not great because when I was working for Hertz, I made $12.50 an hour, and I'm living in Dallas. That was before the inflation came in. I could not live there in this day and age. And we worked for 8 hours. We worked for actually I didn't work for 8 hours a day. I worked longer than 8 hours a day, right? Like I told you guys, the one branch that I worked at, it opened at 7:30 in the morning, and we closed at 6:30 at night. But sometimes we wouldn't leave until 7 o'clock because we would get the cars in late at night. So we would want to get have at least 4 or 5 cars staged so that way we could open up the morning in good condition. So that way, if we had 5 people that come in, we could push the cars out to them. But yeah, so Cheryl Lee Ralph was upset because and this is on her. She was late, and they wouldn't check her in. But ma'am, you were late. Like, you guys, please, like I said, be nice to people, right? Be nice. Kindness goes a long way, and especially in airport. Like I said, this is hospitality. This is so airport rentals, hotels. Be nice to the people. That's all I say, you guys. Be nice. Be nice. Be nice. It doesn't it doesn't hurt you to be nice to people, right? But that's really all that I think I want to talk about. Actually, let's pause here. I got one more story that I want to talk about real. All right, you guys. So the final story of this week. So it is officially come out this week that Giselle Bundchen and Tom Brady are officially divorcing each other. I'm gonna be real with you guys. Like I said. All right, you guys. So I ran out of memory on my phone, but all I was saying was I'm not. I wasn't really shocked that they announced a divorce. I need to get me a DSLR camera for Christmas this year, so that way I don't have to deal with my phone anymore. But that's really all I got for you guys this week. Let me know what you guys thought about each and every story that we discussed this week. I will see you guys later. You guys, we don't have a lot on the weekends anymore. I think what we only have now is Love During Lockup, Love and Marriage Huntsville, and Real Housewives of Potomac. because we don't have any scripted shows either. Oh, you guys, so I haven't forgotten about American Horror Story. American Horror Story is probably going to be up on Saturday sometime. That is my hope and my goal for American Horror Story to be up on Saturday. And next week we shall be back on schedule with American Horror Story. But yeah, guys, as always, as I say every week, we do this the same time, same place, same channel, and I am your same host. So until next time, you guys, be safe out there, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, you guys.